Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. Hey, happy Friday. Good day, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be in the world. Thank you so much for joining us on the Pirate Broadcast. We have Chaz in the room. Chaz, welcome to the pirate community. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. We were just talking about how I feel like I've got my rite of passage with my hair growing out. I think I'm ready to be a pirate.
No kidding, no kidding. So I have to ask this question. What prompted you to jump on and join the pirate community today?
I think we crossed paths a few times, and your energy is contagious. Seen the show a few times, and when we were talking about, hey, I think we were in the LinkedIn DMs going back and forth, and I'm trying to spread the love, get you on a few shows, and inviting me on a few shows. It's just a lot of synergy building here. So I just love what you're doing on LinkedIn.
It's really about how you can actually help each other out. And the reason I look at it that way is there's no shortage of pie. You can just build a bigger pie, and there's more out there, and you can actually produce more content, more community, more collaboration every time you reach out to somebody like yourself. And you've been doing this. Well, I've been around a little while longer. And so what prompted you to start in the media and the marketing business and some of these social attributes that we call business nowadays?
Well, as you mentioned, I'm a young guy, and so when I was figuring things out in college, I went to ASU, and as I was getting into college, I was like, what can I pursue where I can really have a level playing field, and I don't have to do 40 years to be able to be a trusted source of authority in my space. And I just look at marketing and how everything's evolving. I grew up with social media, and storytelling has gone from newspaper to now online, and obviously the pandemic is becoming an even more important piece. And so I was just looking for where can I really compete at a young age, and I looked at marketing as just a place that was continuing to innovate, and where it seemed like every year it was kind of, okay, everything that worked last year is gone. Now we're doing a new thing. And so I really felt that I could, build my kind of competitive advantage in the space.
Yeah. It's funny because as you were saying that, I was reflecting on the fact that you've been a gymnast and you've been in the gymnastics industry and the community. And the parallel for me is the discipline and the opportunity to innovate.
Yeah.
So it's very parallel in those mindsets.
Oh, yeah.
And what can we create? What can we influence here to get one more point out of the equation?
Right. No, it's funny. I used to kind of be known for there's a code of points in gymnastics. They have this big Bible with a bunch of pictures of all the skills and the values, and the harder the skill, the higher the value. And, we would just sit at practice and flip through this thing looking for what's a skill we've never seen anybody do or hasn't been done in 20 years, or can we add another spin to this thing? And, I think that is kind of where the creativity was born in terms of wanting to do something different, wanting to do something challenging. And, I found that with marketing and sales technology, and, still trying to innovate in my own unique way through that stuff now.
And it's also the parallel for everyone here in the pirate community is, the consistency. We got hundreds of episodes in the pirate community. I put a shout out to a couple of pirates, and now I'm booked through August. I'm booked into August now. And the reality is that you just have to show up, do the practice, innovate, and make sure that you're making sure that everything you're doing is building on the next thing you're doing.
Yeah.
And so is in the last 4 years, 5 years that you've been doing this, has that been your
It absolutely, absolutely has, I think, a resounding yes to that question. I started in Instagram services was kind of my first dipping my toe in is, when Instagram was starting to get hot, how can we help people to grow their audience, grow their engagement level? And that became something where I had to innovate and I had to go to the next thing because, the algorithms change. What worked last year doesn't work this year. And, now we've built a SaaS technology off of the managed service. It's just one example of kind of always trying to pivot, and, business success seems to always be a moving target. If you got growth and decay and you're going in one direction or the other.
Yeah. It's we could create an entire episode on just Instagram and Instagram stories, and I'm hesitant to get involved, producing a lot of Instagram stories right now because it seems to be changing right now and evolving, and I'm kind of waiting to see, where it will settle down, and so you can make an impact. Is any recommendations for us? Waiting on the wings.
Yeah, no, I mean, from a social media standpoint, the big thing that is trending across really every channel, from Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube, like TikTok, they're embedding more of this kind of product feed into their platform, right? So they're making it easier to transact, and whether you're selling a product, service, that is one big piece. And so obviously on the horizon is how can you get customers to transact with your goods and services through the platform. But really what we speak a lot about, and what Social Cycle is really all about, is content isn't king anymore. And, I think that that's a controversial thing. It's a contrarian stance that I take, and people go, what are you talking about? And I say, well, content's great. Obviously you have to have content, you have to build your brand around content, but there's, for instance, on Instagram, there's 600 million posts going up a day on Instagram. Yeah. So it's mind-boggling. There's a cacophony of content being published with every hashtag you can think of. And, your content only shows up to a fraction of the audience that you've got. So let's say you have 100 followers, you post a piece of content, maybe 30, 40% of those people will see that content. And that's just in your audience. Maybe you get 2 or 3 other people to see a hashtag, but they don't really do anything other than see it. We look at it and go, the real thing now is engaging with your audience, finding the right audience and engaging with them, being interested in them. And so, if you spend, hours and hours posting videos and that's all you do to grow your community, then you're going to show up to that small sample size over and over and over again. So it has to involve some sort of engagement. And again, that's what Social Cycle does, is to help people to identify people that are relevant to their community or the community that they're building, and then systematically engage with them in a non-transactional way.
And I can't disagree with you at all, because I have been saying this for years. And although I create an abundance of content, I create content every single day. I create something. I mean, every single
content right now, man.
Yeah. I mean, and we really have to think about how we can create content as a part of the engagement process. For me, it's like, hey, it's super simple. We can actually have a conversation here. We can engage before and after. I can invite people on that I want to meet, hang out with, have a conversation with. Yeah. And it's an easy process for me to invite you, say, hey, be on my show because I want to share what you're doing. And also maybe there's something we can do together. Right. It's a super simple, and I call it removing the friction.
Right.
And building a traffic circle where you could take this, now this live stream will become YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn. It becomes a post, it becomes a transcription, it becomes a podcast, which is
ring it out. I love it.
Yeah, 20, 30 other locations, right?
Yeah.
And so that engagement is key to making sure that you can show up where people want to consume your content or consume your message or your engagement.
But like what you've done is engineer a frictionless kind of experience from that engagement to taking the next step. And I think that, just posting your content out there, especially for people that maybe don't have the established following or trying to build their community, just posting content, you're going to get really frustrated really fast because you're going to keep posting content thinking, I'm getting in front of the video, I'm doing all the reps, but nothing's happening. You have to have a means to drive people into that engineered customer experience. And, oftentimes the least transactional approach is just being interested instead of being interesting, and, really engaging with people, starting the dialogue, and then, just being authentic. And from there, that's what leads into that customer experience.
Yeah. I have to agree with you, Chaz. Also, just as an example of that exercise, I want to give a shout out to Howard Kaufman. He has created, you may know Howard.
Oh, of course.
He's created oil.
Fresh.
Yeah. And you can find his products in select Fry's stores in Arizona here as an experiment. He's getting out there. He's busting his chops. He's booking business. He's growing. And I just want to give a shout out to Howard for the work that he's doing. And also, I want to give a shout out to another wonderful friend of mine, Marcia Reese, who has done this amazing journey in creating copper. It's Stay Well Copper. I think you've heard me talk about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I know Marcia as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So Marcia has created this Stay Well Copper, and she's going to be on Lowe's and other fine sites, e-commerce sites. And that's an example of how, I know Howard and I met Marcia through Howard, and, this whole economy in Arizona, the startup economy. I met so many people here, Chaz, and, that's the engagement that we can have, and we help each other out. We promote each other, and we talk about each other, and, bringing you on here and sharing what Social Cycle is doing. It's really important for us to get the word out.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Big shout out to both of them. Marcia, I haven't seen you in a while. Howard, I hope everything's going well with you too. But that's we got it. And you guys got to use social media. You guys both get your products on all these different applications and really embed your customer experience in these social channels.
Well, one thing that is challenging at times, and this is in the podcasting world and the live streaming world, is a lot of business owners that don't necessarily focus on engagement. They produce a couple of live streams or they produce a podcast and they say, nobody's watching my stuff. I don't want to do this anymore. And so what would you suggest, Chaz, that would allow somebody to either assist in their engagement or help in their engagement or produce some results in that direction?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, this is a generic kind of start to it, but you got to understand who your ideal customer is, and you got to have a niche. Like I mentioned, there's a cacophony now on social. And so finding ways to really stand out to a certain type of person, I think is step one. But once you've identified that type of person, at least with Social Cycle, what we see is that, being able to engineer the engagement journey the same way that, like you're engineering the experience from the time that, okay, now I've said yes to wanting to be on the show. Here's everything that flows from there. I think that we engineer the engagement journey. So it's like, okay, step one, you're following them, and a couple of days later, you're liking a post, you're commenting on a post, and it's not just great post. It's not just an emoji. It's something meaningful. Hey, I watched this, and here is my honest feedback. I'm going to take 5 seconds to actually spend some time and, give you something more than cool. And from there, you know, you engage a few times, and then maybe at that point you've earned, and we call it relationship equity, but maybe you've earned the right at that point to send them a DM. You know, it's not a connection and pitch fest DM right out the gate. It's, you know, let me earn the right. I've credited my account on this relationship with non-transactional engagement that's meaningful. I've shown interest in you. Now I'm going to send you a DM, you know, and the DM is going to be something that isn't, you know, a paragraph essay with 4, you know, links. Hey, can you leave me a review and go on my website and do this and do that and give me your referral? It's like, you know, you're not asking something or putting them to work. It's just reciprocating back the engagement that you've given them. And so, you know, we try to, you know, like I said, engineer that experience. And through Social Cycle, what we're really excited about is that we put people through a cold, warm, and hot pipeline. And so, you know, you start in cold, you start with a follow, a like, a comment, you know, over the course of time, if they follow back, if they connect back with you on LinkedIn, it moves them from cold into warm automatically. And so it's like, cool, I have now filtered out the people that are not following me back and haven't reciprocated my engagement by following me. Now you're in warm. Okay, now you engage with them a few more times, maybe another like, a profile visit, a comment, and then you send them a DM. The DM is not meant to be, hey, buy this. It's meant to, you know, say, hey, we've been engaging, you know, I've been seeing what you're doing, and, you know, I'm interested in whatever it may be, you know. From there, Social Cycle will then, if they respond to the DM, it'll put them into the hot. Now it's like, cool, you've responded, you've connected with me. Now I'm going to spend even more meaningful time with you. If you're not responding to my DM, if you're not connecting back with me, I don't need to continue to spend time with you because you're not reciprocating my engagement to you. And so by the time they get to hot, that's when you're able to, you know, for instance, for you, Russ, it's like, now I can send you a Calendly link and we can schedule a time to connect further. I can get you into my CRM. I can get you into whatever it is that you're managing your leads with. But it's just a way to engineer the engagement process the same way you engineer a customer experience, the same way you engineer your content calendar. People ask us all the time, oh, I have Hootsuite, I don't need that. It's like, okay, well, Hootsuite is going to schedule your content out, but it's not going to help you streamline and systemize how you identify people in your community and engineer an engagement journey that leads them to actually take action with your brand. So, yeah, hopefully that gives you kind of the full scope of how Social Cycles applied, but really how we think about, you know, engaging with people on social media.
I love it, and I'm an advocate for engagement over transactions, and just you know, what I call well, I'll give you an example. You connect with somebody on LinkedIn, and the first thing they do is say, hey, let me tell you about me. And it's like, okay, yeah. now that I've told you everything about me, what do you love about me?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, and here's some things that you can buy from me.
It's an epidemic. It's an epidemic.
It's an epidemic. And it comes from a place of scarcity, and people are, you know, working hard to get their stuff out there. And I understand and for business owners and entrepreneurs that really know the business, it has to be a long game. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not one and done. It's a marathon.
Right.
And once you realize that, and you know what your goals are, it's really important to understand that you can grow, and it doesn't have to be overnight. You know?
Well, let me ask you something. You know, who said that having 1,000 people in your pipeline compared to, you know, 100 or 10 people in your pipeline meant you were going to sell more? You know, now you have 1,000 people to try to engage with, and it turns into a law of averages type of scenario where it's like, find the right 10 people, find the right 100 people, and spend more meaningful time with the right people, and spend more time on the front end finding them, as opposed to, let me spray and pray, and if I send enough DMs and connect enough people that, you know, it'll happen for me or they'll buy eventually. It's like, that's not how social media works. You can't stand on the street and yell, buy my thing, until somebody buys it. It's the same thing. We have to have social norms for social media the same way we have social norms for human interactions.
Absolutely. Or alternatively, Chaz, I don't know about you, but I like growing in a community where I can say hi to Angie in from the north here. And thank you, Angie, for being a supporter. Marcia Reese, as you know, she's always good morning to everyone. And Marcia and I are working on a project that is going to be able to give back to the community and provide some benefits and killing some germs along the way. So stay tuned for that.
Always use that.
And I'm sure that you know Tracy, because Tracy has been here. She's probably sent you a few messages, allowed you to be notified that this is taking place and going through the process. Marcia says, powerful synergy. I love it. I love it. Kathy Spooner is in. Good morning, Pirates. Kathy's an awesome individual that comes and visits us once in a while. And Jimmy Jam, what's up? What's up? In from Seattle. He's an amazing friend, client, and somebody that helps people, builders and clients in Seattle with their funding requirements for building. And great conversation and excellent points. Absolutely. Howard Kaufman, great to see you, Chaz. You are right on target. So
learning from the best, Howard.
Yeah, Howard's awesome. Excellent information about engagement. Chaz,
thanks, Kevin.
This is the kind of, it's simple engagement. And, Marcia and I were talking yesterday about how we can increase and improve the exposure to the pirate community. Because one of the challenges I have is I interview interesting people doing interesting things, which is pretty broad. And if you're just coming on board, it's not necessarily focused about business. It's not necessarily focused upon any subject as much as it's what I find interesting. And the conversations are always, well, not always engaging, but I try to make them engaging. And from a social media perspective or a brand perspective, it would be nice to tighten that up and say, okay, well, what does Russ deliver every single day? Right. And so going through that process for your clients is probably the same exercise, right?
Yeah, we see that social media is very like, I'm trying to grab things out of the stratosphere and remember to, engage with that person or say hi to this person. And, when you actually put some intention behind it and put some organization behind it and actually have a system to help you to manage all of those, right now, you're on 4 or 5 different channels. You got different community members engaging across. It's like, how do you manage all of that in one place? And I think we look at it in a very contrarian way where we say, email addresses are great, but we don't really care about email addresses anymore. You have a direct link. The social media is the yellow pages. You have a link to everyone's personal profile where you can send them a message. And when people are spending more time engaged on LinkedIn, or they spend 45 minutes on LinkedIn a day compared to maybe 10 minutes in their email inbox, or even if they got 5,000 unread emails, sometimes an engagement on a social channel where they're actually spending meaningful time daily can mean much more than sending a cold email or sending something like that. And so I think the numbers are, there's 3.78 billion people that have a social media account worldwide. As of last year, people spend an average of 2 hours and 2 minutes a day on social media. And so there's an abundance of people. There's an abundance of time spent here. And so how can we take the yellow pages and really streamline and systemize how you identify the right people you want in your community and engage with them in a way that's meaningful, non-transactional, and more long form than, maybe follow in a connection DM that's like, hey, buy my thing. And then, oh, you didn't buy it? Well, I'm on to the next. It's like, it's not how the world works, and it's not how social media works. So that's really our mission, but that's what we see a lot of.
I love the idea of engagement overall. And one of the things that I've always shared on this show, as well as in other arenas, is just add value, continue to add value.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily sharing all the secrets of everything you're doing. It's not necessarily sharing, how-tos or a list or listicles or any of that stuff. It's just listen to people, care about people, check in once in a while. I know years ago, before social media was really a big thing, I used to text people and just check in and say, "Hey, Chaz, how you doing? Happy Friday. Hope you have a great weekend." And that was it. And and then because it's top of mind, it's just letting people know that you care about the fact that they're there, and you're just checking in. It's just, love the analogy. Kathy says, love the analogy of social media is a new Yellow Pages. I'm from the Yellow Pages era. I'm right there with you. And I think, and I'm still an advocate for email to a certain degree, and video email is one of the things.
I love what you do with the video email stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's really one of those things that, I mean, I just did a campaign the other day that got 63% open rate, which is unheard of in email.
Yeah.
It's insane. However, it's a warm audience. It's somebody that knows me. It's people that recognize who I am because of my engagement.
Right.
So it proves your point.
I'd say the way that we kind of look at this is more and more people, more and more entrepreneurs are using their social profiles as kind of almost a website. Like for instance, a photographer, their Instagram page is more meaningful than anything else, because it's like, hey, I'm going to send you a DM. You can land on my page and look at my work without having to interact with me. And once you've seen my work, then maybe we can have a conversation. But, it's starting to become a thing where, when it is a cold audience, people are a little bit more willing to start a dialogue or entertain some kind of engagement that's cold on social, that then can lead into email once, business is starting to be done. Text messages once business is starting to be done. Email and text right out the gate seems to be a little intrusive when it's like, who are you? You're a signature behind a screen, or you're a random number I don't have. Mm-hmm. I'm backing away going, how'd you get my information? But when it's on social, it's like, I can see your face. I can see what you're interested in, especially if you're not being transactional. It's just a more frictionless approach to starting relationships. And if you, like I said, you have a system where you can engineer an engagement process that pushes people into your existing business processes and go, cool, I'm going to feed you from my Instagram DMs into my email newsletter, or into starting a free trial, or into, scheduling a podcast. Now it becomes a much more approachable way to get in touch with people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm a fan of systems, regardless of how they're starting or how they're wrapping up.
I can tell, yeah.
And I think that because there is so much information. I mean, it's like you have to understand what information is going where. And I'm a squirrel in the lab all the time. It's like, oh, new toy, new platform. It's like, I'll find out about this.
Yeah.
And I've been a beta tester on a lot of platforms, and there's just so many opportunities out there that it's not about how you do it. It's about how you want to do it.
Right.
And how you want to build your engagement engine, and how you want to engineer that engagement.
Well, and so much falls through the cracks. We talked about discipline to start this conversation, and so much falls through the cracks if you're not disciplined and you don't have that system in place that you can follow. And you end up missing opportunities that you otherwise would have had if you just stayed organized, held yourself accountable. And, social media tends to be a place where we kind of are a little laid back and go, oh, it's just social media. It's like, if we can tighten the screws a little bit, I always say you're one DM away from a really amazing kind of engagement with somebody. I found employees on social media. I found investors on social media. I found mentors on social media. I've gotten in touch with people that have millions of followers, and I thought, there's no way they're going to respond to me. But if you can kind of, break up the norm and maybe send an audio DM, or spend some time actually engaging before sending the transactional DM, those are the things that will actually differentiate your outreach. and really give you really amazing opportunities that you otherwise would not have ever had access to. You don't have those people's emails or phone numbers, but
No.
you have access to them on social. If you play your cards right, you can get in touch with them.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. So I want to ask you a question before we wrap up today, Chaz. What would this episode bring to the table for anyone that wants to listen to it or is thinking about watching this episode or listening to this episode? What's the real message that we want to share today with this message?
Yeah, no, and we're huge about engineering an engagement journey. We know that engagement is important in finding ways to actually engineer your process of engaging with customers systematically, starting dialogue. If you're trying to build a community, you're trying to build a business, a brand, whatever it may be, it starts with intentional and meaningful engagement. And when you can systemize that process, you're going to get great results.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, everybody. Russ Hedge joined us. All right. Awesome. Russ, engaging with people is key. Jenny Gold is in the house. Good morning, Russ Johns. And Jimmy Jam says, excellent show. Thank you, gentlemen.
Jam, appreciate it, man.
I think I'm going to be on their show later today, so stay tuned for that. D-Roo and Jimmy Jam and Russ, the pirate, will be playing out on the etherwebs and the webcasting, all that good stuff later today. So, Chaz, thank you so much for being here. And as you know, it's one of those things that we have an opportunity to share some good things because kindness is cool. Smiles are free.
Amen to that. Thanks for having me, man. This is awesome.
You bet. Enjoy the day, everyone. Take care. Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate Syndicate today. Boom.
That was great, man. It was fun.